Congratulations, Representative Bowman.
Thank
How
you.
are
Thank you very much. I am relieved. Relieved that the results are final in our race. Very excited. Very tired. Look to sleep for about 2 days, hopefully after today. But ready to get to work. And the more the results come in Biden's favor, that's also a beautiful thing. So feeling good.
I'm glad you're feeling good. We're looking to you to, your lift in Congress got a little bit heavier last night as Democrats actually lost House seats. Can you explain why? Why did they lose House seats? Is it because they weren't all running on Medicare for All and a Green New Deal?
Probably, yes, probably. Yeah, it's very disappointing to lose House seats. It's disappointing not to have flipped the Senate. We were very, ambitious in our goals this cycle, and we weren't able to accomplish some of those. But a Biden White House will make things feel a lot better. But yeah, in terms of the Democratic Party, we have to do a better job of working together. We have to do a better job of growing the base and expanding the electorate and bringing people in who have been historically ignored. There's so many people out there who no longer believe in our system, and rightly so, because the system has failed them for so long. And the Democratic Party just has to do a better job of connecting with those people and bringing them in. There's absolutely no reason for us to lose so many seats. But I hope when I get there, I hope to work with senior leadership. I hope to work with organizations and people within the Democratic Party that I don't always agree with, because the bottom line is it's either give democracy a chance to live another day or allow fascism and something worse to persist. And I'm all for democracy, and I'm for what the progressive movement is all about and what we've been pushing across the country.
Yes, you have a difficult dance ahead of you that I think, and a sort of a needle that many others have tried to thread here, trying to work with moderate Democrats and leadership, but also push them. And we need you to push them for sure. I just wanted to ask, what's the initiation process into the squad? Is it just like red lipstick and reciting the Green New Deal, or you got to wear hoops, or?
That's a great question. I think you got to get jumped in. I think that's the first, you got to get jumped in. So I think first day of orientation, Ayanna, Ilhan, Rashida, and Alex, they're going to beat me up. They're going to beat Corey up and see if we can take it. No, we believe in the Green New Deal. We fought for Medicare for all. We believe in housing as a human right. We're all endorsed by the Justice Democrats. I think that's the common thread. Right. And, the squad was a name given to them by journalists, by outsiders. It's not, how they refer to themselves. So if my platform and who I am as a person and representative leads to others saying that I'm a part of the squad, so be it. All I know is this: I'm happy that these four amazing women did this in 2018 first to kind of create a pathway for someone like me to do it in 2020. And I'm already in communication with them, already looking to collaborate, and it's just really exciting.
Like I said, you have a heavier lift, and there is more hope being put on your shoulders, and I hope you feel that hope. I want to ask you, what were the lessons that you learned, and what are the takeaways for the Democratic Party with your victory, right? You're defeating this incumbent. How many years was he in office? Was Eliot Engel in office?
31 years.
31 years. I'm in Los Angeles, California. We've got Nancy Pelosi. We've got Feinstein wants to run again. I mean, this has been my entire life that these people have been in office. What was that process like? Did you have to go negative on Representative Engel, or what, what was that? And what's your advice for going forward?
Well, we rarely went negative. We critiqued his record in certain areas. It wasn't a nasty sort of attack. It was pointing out, he takes a ton of corporate PAC money. He's funded by the military industrial complex and big real estate and big pharma. And that's not what we need for our district and for this country. But I think more importantly, I think the Democratic Party needs to look to working class people as potential candidates for office. I mean, I'm a middle school principal. I worked in public education for 20 years. I mean, do you know how much I learned in that experience as a teacher and school counselor and middle school principal serving children from historically neglected communities? I mean, I learned so much, and all of that became part of my platform in addition to what I was hearing from people throughout the district. And that's the key, right? We have to engage a diverse constituency. The Democratic Party tends to, only shoot down the middle. Let's talk to moderates. Let's talk to people of a certain class. Let's continue to engage a certain type of donor. And that's just the wrong outlook. In my opinion, Bernie Sanders started the blueprint in 2016, really calling out the economic injustice in our country. And it continued in 2018 with AOC and the squad, and in 2020 with Bernie's second run, when he was able to outraise the entire field, all from small dollar donations, not taking any corporate PAC money. And the field had to gang up against him to ultimately beat him. Yeah. So we have to be very clear on what our mission is. And in my opinion, our mission is to cure America's original sin, which is racism. And it's something that continues to persist today, and it manifests itself in our economic inequality as well. So we've pivoted from chattel physical enslavement to economic enslavement, where you have people just struggling, working super hard just to barely survive. And that's unacceptable. And as Democrats, we are supposed to be the party of the working class, and we got a lot more work to do in that area.
Yeah, I actually just want to jump onto that last point. You on your website and your agenda, and you've spoken about the need for another American Reconstruction. It's something on Newsbroke we've talked about. I know it's something that Reverend William Barber talks about, a third American Reconstruction. What does that mean to you moving forward, and seeing also just not I don't know if you want to call it divided, but how many people are willing to still throw in their lot with someone like Donald Trump?
Donald Trump has revealed how much hate and discrimination is still out there in the world. It was always there. It was simmering under the surface throughout Obama's years and for quite some time. And many of us thought after Obama got elected, we were now a post-racist society. And Trump revealed that that's no longer the case. Not only are there rabid alt-right explicit racists and fascists, but there's also a ton of implicit bias out there that continues to dictate how America's institutions function. Yeah. So for me, the third Reconstruction is about a collective healing and a collective reckoning where we take responsibility for our history as a nation, and we call out and identify how institutional racism continues to persist. If you look at redlining that occurred after World War II, and how the American government invested $120 billion in building the suburban middle class. And oh, by the way, 98% of that money went to white families, and Black families were completely not allowed to engage in that process at all. That's a direct example of how institutional racism persists from the federal government to our real estate industry, and how we have to bring resources to bear to reverse the impact, the financial, but also the social impact of a decision like that. Yeah. We tried Reconstruction, after the Civil War. That didn't work, and the Homestead Act disproportionately impacted or supported white people, both foreign-born and domestically born. We tried it after the Civil Rights Movement, and it didn't work then because of mass incarceration. So now, hopefully, third time will be a charm, where we're targeting mass incarceration and we're targeting truth and reconciliation in a way that's similar to Germany, Rwanda, and South Africa.
I mean, and this is my question. It's like, is white America ready to reckon, and how do you, there's a lot of hand holding. There is a lot of political hand holding. There's emotional hand holding. And I think obviously, with some of the policies that you support, like Medicare for All and a Green New Deal, there is a way that, we can all work together toward a kind of vision. But part of that vision is absolutely reckoning with, like you were saying, these original sins, the racism of this country. And who better than a principal to help us get there? I wanted to ask you about if it looks like, right, that the Democrats don't flip the Senate and you still have Mitch McConnell, you still have Lindsey Graham, but potentially Biden is president.
Don't remind me, please. Don't remind me. Oh my goodness. What a time. Listen, I guess I wouldn't have it any other way, right? If we're going to take down institutional racism, let's target the two people who have kept it alive over the last 50 years, Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell. So, hopefully we'll have a Biden presidency, which will make that job easier. But it's good to have a target, right? Like when you're, so we're not talking.
You want to draw it out. You just want to make it good.
Yeah, we're not talking about racism in the abstract. We're going to talk about institutional racism, which we see in criminal justice, in our mass incarceration, and in police brutality, and in economic inequality. But then we can point to Graham and point to McConnell directly and just say, look at what they've represented. Look at what they fought for. Look at what they haven't done. And hopefully use that to galvanize people both on the outside and the inside. And now that Trump is going to be gone, God willing, hopefully Republicans will come back to earth and begin to govern in a way that is not in support of fascism. That's wishful thinking, but hopefully a few of them will begin to move back into a place where things make a little bit of sense.
Absolutely. Sadly, this country still needs Republicans. I'm always waiting for the moment where we don't, but we still do.
Hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years, if they don't get their act together, we'll be done with them.
I am curious about, I'm curious about your district, and what is the mandate from your district, from your constituents, when it comes to their needs and how that plays out in Washington.
Yeah. Well, this goes to your point, right? So, are white people ready for a reckoning? My answer is yes, if I'm looking from the perspective of my district. We tripled voter turnout in our primary race. We tripled turnout amongst young people and people of color. We had children and grandchildren telling their parents and grandparents they better vote for Jamaal Bowman. I'm the first African American to hold this seat in the nation's history. And along with Mondaire Jones, we're going to be the first two African Americans that Westchester sends to Congress in the history of Westchester County, New York. So that communicates a shift. And the shift is definitely generational. And the shift is in response to how deplorable of a leader Donald Trump has been, and how, in many ways, our federal government, regardless of Democrat or Republican, has allowed this inequality and racism to persist without dealing with it directly.
Yeah.
And what I always tell people, listen, there are white, wealthy people who care about racial and economic justice. And some of them, many of them, thousands of them actually are in this district. So I'm looking forward to working with them and getting to work. And if we could do it here, which is, if we were a nation, we would have the 8th worst economic inequality in the world. So if we could do it here, it could be done anywhere.
Yeah. I wanted to I know you got to go in a little bit, but I wanted to ask a question that you sort of brought up earlier about Bernie Sanders and the way that moderate Democrats very much, got together and were like, we're not going to let Bernie happen. We're going to throw all of our weight behind Joe Biden in the span of, 72 hours or less. How do you think this election might have played out had Bernie Sanders been the nominee? I think it's a question a lot of us are asking without having a shoulda, woulda, coulda. but just curious about your thoughts.
It's a great question. I don't know. I want to say Bernie would have won, especially, as things are playing out with Biden. It looks like, hopefully, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but he's doing well. I think Bernie would have won, because the thing that Bernie and Trump had that was similar is they both talked about how the system is rigged and failing the majority of American people. Trump was disingenuous as he spoke about it, but Bernie wasn't. And I think that understanding and that message really resonates with people from diverse backgrounds and diverse parts of the country. But please don't torture me with thinking about a Bernie presidency. Could you? I mean, it would be a revolution of the best kind in our country. And Malcolm X, people called him a radical, but he once said, America has the opportunity to be the first nation in the history of the world to have a non-violent revolution if it just does what it's supposed to do. And that's my goal. That's my mission. Let's create a non-violent revolution by doing simply what we're supposed to do, by giving people basic opportunity, making sure their needs are met so they can live with dignity and self-determination. That's what we should be able to do as the wealthiest nation on earth.
Jamaal Bowman, Congressman-elect of District 16 in New York, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on this victory, and I hope that you don't get too big for us, because I feel like that's going to happen, and we're going to start talking about what you're wearing and
Jesus,
how you keep all your clothing for Vogue shoots. I feel like this is going to...
Hopefully not. I will not get too big. I will definitely be back. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, and can you bring some of that principal energy to Congress? Because you're very experienced with bullies and brats and whiners.
That's right. I promise I will.
Okay.
All right.
Jamaal Bowman, everybody, take care. Thank you so much.